Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Back of the Shelf, a show that considers, ponders, and deliberates board games that we consider to be underrated, undervalued, and perhaps a little bit unloved. My name is Jerry, and as always, I'm joined by my fellow host, Ben. Ben, can I get a howdy, y'all?
Howdy, y'all.
Very convincing, thank you. And as always, we're also joined by my other fellow host, Dave. Dave, say, and here's my little secret. I killed Mufasa.
Every week. Howdy, y'all. One day I'll say one of those.
It's
lines.
disappointing. Okay.
Sorry.
Well, as not always, we're joined by this week's special and returning guest, writer, blogger, board game designer, and president and co-founder of Stonemaier Games. It's Jamey. Jamey, how the devil are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks again for having me.
Oh, hey, let's get straight to it. Played any decent board games lately?
I have, yeah. I just attended a small convention here in St. Louis, and I played a lot of new to me games, including some of them are older games, but they were new to me, like Fleet the Dice Game, Planet Unknown, Obsession, Holy, Genotype, and the new version of The Crew.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. How was the new version of The Crew?
It's really, really clever. Have you all played the original Crew?
I have played it briefly. Do you know what? It was a kind of a learning game, so we're trying to learn the rules as we were playing it. So I would hasten to say, probably not properly.
Okay. It's a cooperative trick-taking game, sure. And the original game I really enjoyed. The missions escalate. They escalate in difficulty. They give you different puzzles to solve. And in the new version, they put all those puzzles on the task cards that you're dealing out to players. And so the puzzle can be very different from game to game. And it was a lot of fun to play at the convention. We kind of jumped around in difficulty to try out different missions.
Nice.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, hey, that's awesome.
It does look good. It does look very good.
Ben, Dave, you guys. How about you guys? Played anything decent recently?
Go on, Ben.
I played Dune Imperium.
Ooh.
Oh, that's such a great game.
Nice. I love that game.
Such a great game. I'm shocked. Just my little gaming group, couple of guys. Okay. They're the guys I'd prepped with Dominion.
Yeah.
Got them ready.
Okay.
I felt that was a definite key move.
Okay.
Such a great game.
Did you
smooth yet chunky?
Nice. Did you win? Did you win it?
No. Oh. I'm playing with the guys who count cards, and I was like, oh, never.
Okay. No fun. Okay, nice. Good choice. Dave, what did you play recently?
We played Near and Far, didn't we? Got Near and Far back to the table.
I love Near and Far. It's been so long since we played that.
We haven't played it in a couple of years. Well, for obvious reasons, but yeah. We're kind of getting ready because I pre-ordered Now or Never. So we're getting ready for that coming out.
Okay.
But yeah, it was nice to delve back into Arsium, wasn't it?
You were practicing your RPG voices, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Didn't we come across a new type of folk in that particular game? I think we came across the fish folk, didn't we?
I think we had fish folk, hogs folk, lizard folk. I think all in one game. There were many folk.
Obviously, I know Jamie's too polite to ask, but he probably wants to hear your fish folk voice, right?
He probably doesn't. But okay. Give me a line. I'll try fish folk.
What's the classic Near and Far line? Oh, like, here's your dagger. Let's go with that. Fish folk, here's your dagger.
Difficult. I don't remember doing a fish folk voice, but
yeah, I remember.
I guess it'd be
That's pretty good on the spot.
Hey, thanks, Jamey. Thank you. Thanks.
Wow.
It's not very COVID safe though. If I'm going to be handling components after doing that.
What are you doing, man? Jamey Stegmaier on the show. What are you doing?
Can we go back when? Did you say Obsession? That game of it's like a country house.
Yeah, it's I think it's loosely based on Downton Abbey, but not Downton Abbey, the intellectual property, just that idea. Yeah, a country English manor house. Yeah, have you played it?
No, that's one of my. If I see it, I buy it.
We live it, Jamey, every day. Yeah, it looks very good, that game. I'd like to play that. That and did you say Genotype as well?
Genotype as well. Yeah, that's another St. Louis publisher.
That looks good. I've heard some things about that. Yeah, that looks really nice.
Yeah, beautiful production, good gameplay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hey, speaking of board games, Jamey, I think you've got a game coming out imminently. A roll and write, I believe. So do you want to give us a little blurb?
I do. Yeah. So Rolling Realms is a game that I designed early in the pandemic as kind of an infinitely scaling, remotely playable roll and write game. So intentionally, there's no player interaction at all in this game. Someone is rolling 2 dice and everyone are using those dice for their own little puzzle. It worked out. I wasn't intending to publish it, but people had enough fun with it that I was like, okay, I'll make a little small box game, little $20 game. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. Instead of doing like the original version was you print out a single sheet of paper and you play it. Now there are a bunch of cards in the game that you shuffle up and you reveal 3 random cards that are the puzzle for that round. And so there's a lot of different puzzles that can emerge from the different realms that combo together, and a lot of replayability from it.
Yeah. Nice. That sounds awesome, man. What are the realms based on?
They're all based on Stonemaier Games products.
Nice.
So all the 11 games that we have so far, there are 11 different realms in the game, each kind of hinting at one of the games that we already have. So it's a bit of a meta game, but hopefully it'll find an audience.
So meta. I love it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I like that.
Awesome. Do you have like a release date for the UK?
The worldwide release date is November 11th, and it is available from us right now for pre-order, and we're actively shipping it right now, including from our fulfillment center in the UK.
Nice. Awesome stuff. Well, hey, people check it out. Stonemaier Games, I assume you just go to your website and can order it there?
You can.
Awesome stuff. Yeah. Well, hey, most excellent. I think let's move on, because in aid of limbering lips, and before we get to the core of the show, Jamey's pick of the back of the shelf, I believe it's time for a bit of a warm-up game. So a game I've aptly named. Can you guess the board game from the bit I read out from the board game's rulebook? So the rules are simple. I shall read out a segment from a game's rulebook. Each of you fine gentlemen must vie to be the first to name the board game to which that rule belongs. There's 6 potential points to win. Glory and fame to the winner, shame and ridicule to the losers. More so, I assume, if you're the president and co-founder of a board game publishing company. So as soon as I read out the rule, as soon as you recognize the game, all you need to do is shout out an answer. I don't have a pen or paper to keep scores. I'm going to have to use my mind. Nevertheless, Dave, have you got a title card for this one?
I have. I prepared one.
Okay.
Especially for you and Jamey.
Okay.
And
shoot.
I hope you enjoy.
Say it.
There you go.
Yeah. Do none of you know it?
What's that? Sorry, our sound gets muted when those come up.
Oh,
sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Jamey.
I was asking, should I just shout it out, or
believe it or not, Jamey, that was just the title card.
That was just the intro.
That was the level of professionalism we're currently at on this show.
But wait, actually, Jamey, could you say it just to confirm?
That is a Papa card from Viticulture.
Nice.
Whew, I'm glad. I was hoping you were going to say the right thing.
I was like, yeah, that's an easy one. Yeah.
Chose the Papa card that looks exactly like me. Thanks for that, Dave.
We have a great time when we do play Viticulture. We always manage to find a card that looks like either one of us or one of our friends. And there is one in the game that looks very much like Jerry. And I couldn't find it. I could not find it to get a picture, but
I think it's one of the visitors cards, to be honest. I think it's one. Of
I think it is. Yeah,
an uncanny resemblance.
Actually, could you answer a question? I've always been curious. The visitor cards, the mum and the papa, and the visitor cards, are they based on your friends?
They're based. Some of them are friends and family. Most of them are backers, Kickstarter backers who pledge for custom art. Yeah,
got it.
Yeah, that's good. That makes sense. Yeah.
And the other common question is that on the back of the Papa cards, there's a person who looks like Loki.
Yes.
Who's the actor that plays Loki?
Hiddleston,
yes. And it is not actually based on him. It's just just happened to look like him. Yeah.
There's no way. That's no.
I'm going to have to look at that. I've not noticed this. I'm going to have to check this out. You never noticed
that? He's
the
image.
He is.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. You ready for this, guys? So, question 1. Here we go. A monastery is completed when it's surrounded by... Ben, you need to relax a little bit. We've got guests, okay? Just like...
As well, yeah.
Okay. There's 1 point. It's Carcassonne. Okay. It's very impressive. Oh, nice. Thanks for putting that in the private chat that I can actually see the scores. That's clever. Wow. Okay. Dave, Jamey, are you aware the game has started?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Number 2. Due to their insidious motives and trader mentality, the Icarites act a little differently than the...
Cosmic Encounter?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Than the Euphorians.
The Euphorians, yep.
Shout out as soon as you got it. Oh, good.
I feel like I can't answer my own.
No, we just got to check.
Okay.
All right. Make Jamey a point for that. For a moment there, like, this guy doesn't know his game. What's going on? Okay, here we go.
Yep.
Number 3. Dave, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Number 3. Each board represents the wonder the player can build.
7 wonders.
7 wonders.
Dave, I'll give you that one.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Ben, you're very slow there. Very slow. Okay. Nice. Even Stevens. Here we go. Number 4. Maths. Here we go. Several cards let you upgrade your cellar to the next level.
Viticulture.
That was
Ben, are you taking that one?
The two of you.
Oh, okay, Ben, I'll give you that one. Oh, yeah. Just taking it.
Just taking it.
Because I got it first.
Okay. Number 5. Here we go. Transformation has its price. Each step between the source and destination terrain on the transformation cycle of your faction board costs 1 spade. Thus, transforming adjacent types of terrain on the transformation cycle into one another costs 1 spade, with a maximum cost of up to 3 spades.
Oh, Terra Mystica.
Oh, yes! Nice, Dave. Oh, okay, that was a hard one.
That was. All of us
fun.
were very confused by that.
Yeah. Oh, nice one, Dave.
Oh, that's a good game.
Impressive.
I like that game.
Okay, here we go. Last one. This section of the rulebook is called Playing the Game. : The game is played over several turns, beginning with the youngest player and proceeding clockwise. Each player's turn consists of 2 steps. 1. Move 1 penguin. 2. Collect the ice floe upon which the penguin was standing.
I can picture the game. Is it Don't Break the Ice?
That's all I've got.
Oh,
what's it going to be?
Hey, that's my fish.
Dave's got it!
That's what it is. Yeah.
Dave.
I was yeah.
What happened? Absolutely stormed away with that one.
What? How many did I get?
I think you got
3.
3 points, Dave.
Oh, dear.
That's the most you've ever scored in anything ever.
It's true.
It's really impressive.
Even in viticulture.
That's a bit generous.
Very true.
Yeah. Jamey, how do you feel about your performance in that game?
Pretty poor. Yeah, I've let down a lot of people.
It's okay. It's okay.
But you all are very good.
It's fine. Oh, it's very impressive, Dave. I mean,
Jamey, you provide the games. We play them and learn about them.
There you go.
And learn the rule book, apparently. Well, now that all nonsense is all said and done, let's move on to the juicy bit, the back of the shelf picks. However, slightly different this week. Since we're blessed with such esteemed company, we're going to give over our time to Jamey and hear about his back of the shelf pick and then move swiftly onto his shelf space for a little grumble time, partly because Jamey's a very busy man and mostly because no one cares about Ben and Dave's opinions of board games. So, Jamey Stegmaier, what is your back of the shelf pick for this week's episode?
My back of the shelf pick is a game that came out last year and somehow ended up flying under the radar, and that is Mysterium Park. I think a lot of people probably heard that the game came out, but I loved it. I think this was my #1 favorite new edition of a game or sequel to a game last year. I think it does. So, you guys are familiar with at least Mysterium, probably, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess for your listeners, Mysterium is a cooperative game where one player plays a ghost and they are conveying how they were killed, in clue style, using images, dreams that they're conveying to other players. Really clever game with a really arduous setup. And Mysterium Park keeps the core elements of the game but also making the setup really, really smooth and easy. And it cuts out kind of some of the what I perceived as some of the parts of Mysterium that didn't need to be there in a nice, tight little package. And yet, Mysterium is ranked 273 on Board Game Geek. I probably would rank it even higher. I love the game. I have it as an 8 on Board Game Geek. But Mysterium Park is ranked 1,331st. It's much lower ranked than Mysterium, which just baffles me because it's, in my opinion, kind of almost an objectively better game than the original Mysterium. And so I want to hear your thoughts. Why do you guys think that this version of the game, where they really honed in on what makes Mysterium special, is ranked so much lower? Do you think people are just tired of Mysterium? They moved past it and didn't want to give this a try?
I have a feeling
I can start.
Go on, Ben. Go on. You start.
Well, I have never played those games because my wife hates those games. And there's a whole. I tried playing Dixit with her and the family game. She's not into that sort of stuff, which I find so depressing. So Mysterium, I so want to try this game. There's just a whole family of games that I just have to you're out.
Yeah, I think
sadly
the reason Mysterium is so high is because it's not that it's super original. You talk about that asymmetrical play and everything, but that bundled in with the theme, it does make for an extremely unique gaming experience. Yeah. I think just people aren't very aware of Mysterium Park and they don't realize how streamlined it is in comparison. Because my favorite part of Mysterium, I'm sure of many people's favorite part, is to be the ghost, obviously, right? And because Mysterium is such a lengthy game to play, and you've already mentioned the setup, because it's a bit arduous, the setup, isn't it? By the time that's all said and done, 2 games at a push, but usually we're kind of done after the first game. And that means only one person's got to be the ghost. That kind of sucks, because that's like the best bit of playing Mysterium. But as I understand it, Mysterium Park, because of the length of play and how quick it is to set up and get into it, am I right in saying you can get a couple of games in an evening quite easily?
Yeah, the box says 28 minutes, and it plays maybe even faster than that at times. It is a really, really fast play. And you're right. Many times, I would say almost every time I played Mysterium Park, we've played it twice with at least 2 people being the ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
That's all I really want to do. As fun as it is trying to work cooperatively, I'm not a massive co-op fan, but it does help when there's that kind of asymmetrical play, anyways. But ultimately, I just want to be the ghost. I don't want to work as a team. I want to be the one that's saying the clues and everything. But is it the same kind of story as Mysterium, where I assume there's been a murder, but was it a park or carnival or something then?
Yeah, there's been a murder at a carnival instead of at a haunted house. One of the nice things is that. What was that?
Let me get some pictures up. I've got some pictures here, so we can do some.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay.
So there is a different set of suspects, a different setting. They got rid of the murder weapon card, so you're only playing through 2 kind of rounds of mysteries instead of 3.
Yeah.
And you're getting rid of the whole thing where in the original Mysterium, if I'm ready to make a guess, I put my little token on the card. In the original Mysterium, other players could then put their tokens on that same card to say, I agree or I disagree. And it cut all that out. I don't think that needed to be there.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things is you can still combine the dream cards from the original Mysterium if you want. If you want to have a big stack of cards, you can do that.
That's cool. I like that one. Have you played any other kind of asymmetrical games of this kind of ilk? Is it compared to anything else? Obviously Mysterium, but...
Well, Ben mentioned Dixit, which I view a little bit more as kind of a party game activity than a game itself. I think Mysterium kind of gamifies that mechanism. And there are, When I Dream is another game that uses something a little bit like this, which is a fun, also party style game.
Yeah. Dave, what's your thoughts on Mysterium? You've played this a couple of times with me.
I like it. My thoughts on Mysterium are exactly the same as they are for Sheriff of Nottingham. I always have a great time, but I always look at my watch about halfway through, and I always feel like they're great games, but they're just a little bit too long. And when Mysterium Park came out, and I wonder if this might have caused confusion. I thought it was either an expansion or a spin-off game, as in like a game in the Mysterium universe, but completely different. But to hear, because I didn't realize until quite a while after it came out that it was just a streamlined version. And I would, if somebody brought this to the table, I'd be a lot more interested, because 40 minutes for a game like this is perfect. I think the problem we've had with Mysterium is it's gone on for about 2 hours at times.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it got chunky.
People take it very seriously, and it goes on a bit. And the only player having fun at that point is the ghost, right?
Yeah.
So it's a great game, just a bit too long. But this probably would fix that for me. I'd imagine.
I agree. Maybe that's another reason why it's kind of fallen to the back of the shelf a bit. Is that I think, like Dave, we've had that kind of that too lengthy experience for Mysterium, and it kind of put us off. Whereas, I haven't played Mysterium in literally years now. And so because of that, I see something like Mysterium Park. I don't even give it really a second glance. I didn't even really considered it because of our experience with Mysterium. We're like, oh, okay, we've kind of done that now. Let's just try and find something else. But yeah, very interesting then. It's that streamlined experience. Am I right in saying... Oh, go on, sorry, Dave. Go on.
Well, no, I was just going to say the part of it that I love is the same part I love of Dixit. Like, I love Dixit. I really, really enjoy Dixit. And I think having this be the same length as Dixit with just a bit more gameplay on top, yeah, that appeals in a big way, because the part of Dixit is obviously trying to decipher those cards and get in people's heads and figure out what they mean. And having this would be, this probably would fix it for me. I reckon I could fall in love with this game. But,
nice.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a great pick, man. Who do you play? Like, are you playing this with the same crowd as you played Mysterium with previously?
Oh, yeah, I play with a variety of people, and it's so easy to teach. So I played it with my parents a few months ago, and I played it with friends. Yeah, played with all sorts of people.
Has it become like a Mysterium killer or not?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't even play Mysterium now because of the setup. This is so much more elegant. The only thing I miss is that Mysterium, when you are the ghost, you're behind that giant screen on the table.
So good, the screen, isn't
and that is cool. That is cool. Yeah.
Like the wallets and everything. Yeah, it's so cool being the ghost.
Yeah, credit to that. You do feel separated, don't you? Literally separated, but with that big screen, it just adds to it. It's great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, Mysterium killer. Ben, you gonna get it?
I am now. Yeah, I'm going to just force everyone to play it. I really like Dixit. I really liked it.
Yeah, Dixit's great.
Yeah, I just want to play. She's out.
But I do think with a lot of games, the time factor is huge, isn't it? I think this could really solve that.
Yeah, I'm sure we were talking about this recently, where there's been those kind of refined versions of games that have been like the original killers. I've instantly forgotten all the games we discussed previously, but like it's interesting how a lot of these guys are like streamlining these older versions now to just distill it down to actually what is everything really enjoying here. Let's just get those key parts. But hey, ladies and gents, check it out. Mysterium Park, Jamey's pick of this week's episode of Back of the Shelf. Any final thoughts, Dave?
Sounds good.
Well then, let's move swiftly on. Jamey, we like to obviously reserve a bit of time at the end of each episode to let people have a little bit of a gripe, a moan, a bit of a grumble, get something off of their chest that perhaps irks them about the board game hobby. So we'd like to give a bit of time to you this episode. What have you got to offer for our back of the... Oh, no, wait, what's it called? Shelf space, that's what it's called. What would you like to get off your chest, sir?
Well, something that's been on my mind a lot recently is there an increasing number of often campaign games, not always campaign games, but sometimes, that have a lot of narrative text in the games. And I'm not necessarily saying this is a gripe, but it's an observation of mine. It's something that I'm thinking about. I think about this a lot in terms of how much narrative text is the right amount. How much is too much, basically, when you're just kind of sitting there reading through paragraph after paragraph, wanting to get back to the interesting decisions of the game.
Sure.
And there are times when it's so well written. In fact, you guys mentioned Now and Never and Near and Far earlier. Ryan Lockett and his wife, I think his wife does a lot of the writing.
Yeah.
He does a wonderful job. And something that he did in Sleeping Gods is that he had the long text, and then he also had like one sentence that summarized all that text if you just wanted to jump to that. And so I love that version of it. I love that he gives you the option there. If you're in the mood for the long text, you can read it. If not, you don't have to read it. But so I think my gripe, maybe if you want to call it that, is games that don't offer that or have really long text that take away from the experience of the game because you want to get back to the decisions. But I'm curious what you guys think. Do you have games that have a lot of text that you really like? Do you like that, or do you like the shorter text? Is there a sweet spot? Do you like when the game reads the text to you, like if it has an app and it's reading it to you? What is your preference there? And is this a shared gripe if there's just a big chunk of text that you have to read through?
I actually... Dave's going. Dave, what you got?
Just really quickly, the first thing that came to mind is kind of the exact opposite, but we play Lords of Waterdeep a fair amount because I really enjoy that game. And my gripe with that is that it has flavor text, which is a short sentence or two, and we play that and people don't read it. That really bugs me because that game without the flavor text, let's face it, it's just moving cubes around. And I think, so you get to that point. I understand what you're saying. I think if you can have a game that captures the theme in a short, just a short amount of text, like Lords of Waterdeep does, you can definitely, you can definitely get away with that. But yeah, long text. I haven't encountered a lot of games. Near and Far might be one of the only games I've had of a story game, I think. Really.
Where it's necessary for like the progression of the game.
Yeah,
that's an issue, because obviously we've got a lot of games, I think, where they do come with a lot of flavor text, but it's not necessary to actually play the game. I think the one you mentioned apps and all that sort of things, Mansions of Madness, and obviously there's a lot of stuff that comes out of that and the app and everything, but it really adds to the atmosphere. It adds to the drive, the impetus of your gameplay. So I love it for that. But there aren't many games, I don't think, on my shelf where they're really narrative driven. But I do get what you mean, but actually not necessarily because it even takes away from the gameplay, but sometimes just because it's poorly written, where it's almost like, because obviously writing's it's a totally separate art form, and to have really decent writing in board games, I mean, especially when it's lengthy writing, it's sometimes few and far between, I think. But
I have thought of one just quickly.
Hey,
Twilight Imperium.
Oh,
the
man.
back of wait. I got a point here. The back of the boards, it's got your entire history of the race, which is great. It's fascinating. But normally when you're setting up that game, because it's such an arduous setup, you don't really have time to read it. So unless you spend time before the game reading about your race, that's fine. But if you don't, and you just turn up at the table, it would be nice to have a little summary. You guys do this. This is what you like. This is what this is why you're fighting for what you're fighting for, etc., etc. Yeah,
I love when games come with a load of. I love that. I love how games like Twilight come with a separate book just for
the
universe.
Imagine sitting down with a new player, and all that because you've pre-prepared, but they've just come to the table, they don't know anything. If they just had a little brief summary,
little snippet,
just so they could got something to work with, and then they can go away and research.
I hate though when it's really flimsy. I hate do you know what, we were talking about Ethnos recently, Jamie, in an episode, and we all love Ethnos, but it feels like it's such a waste, the kind of flavor text throughout that whole game. Throughout the rule book, I have these little snippets of text, and they're very generic fantasy, fantasy-esque writing and stuff, and it's it feels like such a waste because it doesn't really add anything to it, whereas it feels you could enjoy that game without all that. And I don't know whether it's entirely necessary. You could kind of just build your own universe around those ideas. Ben, what's your thoughts on this?
This is
serious business.
You're right. I can't remember who said it about the sweet spot. That is so hard to find. And I don't know if I've ever really, my game was to only play narrative games. I can tell you there were two. I'm gonna swing out a bit of a U-turn here. There were two computer games I've played which have it absolutely bang on. Where I can't remember who said it about little gaps between decision making. There's a game called Her Story, and there's a game called Firewatch, which are both sublime in their pacing, little bit of background, and then you go and do something. And it was absolutely perfect. And the computer games which give you just too much, they're just instant turn-offs. And I'm not sure if I've ever played a really. I'll try and sell the theme for most of my games. Most of my group don't really care about that stuff. I had to try and sell Dune. I said, I love Dune. And what's going on? It's a desert planet. What's going on? Oh no.
Yeah, but how much time does it take to explain Dune?
Yeah. You must read Dune before coming to my board game.
All of it.
The trilogy. Do you know what I think about it?
The what, Gerald? The what?
Trilogy. The Dream.
No, my friend.
Trilogy.
No.
Trilogy.
No.
Why?
There's six. Depending who you speak to, there's 6 or 7 books.
Oh no, no. Let's move along.
Okay, let's move along. So I was thinking about games where, again, I don't know a lot of them where is there such a big break in the gameplay to read out massive chunks of text. But I was thinking, I played Memoir 44 again recently, and obviously you have a lot of historical text before you get into the missions. I loved that, and it's able to build a picture of obviously is obviously a historical background and that sort of thing, but it really builds a clear picture and gives you that much more to the actual gameplay, and it makes it feel that much more exciting. Do you have a game in mind, Jamie, which does it just right? What's the Goldilocks game for that?
There are a couple a couple games that I'm thinking about that do it really well, and oftentimes they've constrained themselves to a card's worth of text.
Yeah.
The two that come to mind are Fog of Love and The King's Dilemma. Very different games, but both, instead of having a storybook, they have cards. And so that's a nice, I think, constraint for a designer to say, okay, I can say anything I want, but I have to fit it onto this card.
Yeah.
And the other example I think of a game that does it really well, thanks to humor, is Clank Legacy. Clank Legacy does have some longer passages at times, but they're amusing. They're funny. They're just fun to read, and fun to read out loud to the other players.
Yes.
And so I think that works as well. Not every game needs to have that humor. I think it works for Clank Legacy, but I think it does work there.
Fog of Love is so clever, isn't it?
We really liked that, didn't we?
That was so
we played that at the UKGE. It was very good.
But again, it gives you enough so that actually you can build the rest of the picture in your head.
Exactly.
Imagine like a perfectly written ghost story or something.
I remember as we were playing it, we were a bit blown away by how clever it was as a system, because how does it work? But it just did. It was just so good.
But just creating that narrative as well. But then you start adding your own little bits and pieces to flesh it out naturally.
I've got this. I got that next to me actually. This game is one that does it well.
Really?
No. Yeah, it's literally you have a sentence on a card and you're building. You're basically trying to kill off your family.
Thank goodness we're not releasing this as a podcast, because.
Yeah, sorry everyone. I'm holding up Gloom. So Gloom's really good because it's literally one sentence on a card, and you're adding new cards on top. They're all transparent, and as you add new cards, they got different sentences. So you're telling a story, but the sentence will literally be something like, it's not a sentence, just a few words. Fell down a well. And you have to tell a story and construct this story as you're trying to sort of kill off your family. But other players are playing against you, so they're trying to keep your family alive while killing off their family. So they're adding cards on top, which will, came into money, and all of a sudden you've got another twist on top of your story. It's really clever. That's a good one.
Nice.
That's really
cool.
What?
Think about asymmetrical games again. One that does it well. Again, it's that perfect, just a little bit of text just to add to the narrative. You can build the rest with Fury of Dracula. I thought that did really well. And it has the event cards in there as well. It gives you a little snippet. And I think it obviously plays to the fact that the majority of people who are probably playing that game know the story of Dracula anyways. And you can build that narrative and extend it a little bit more. But yeah, very clever, that sort of thing. Is there any game you'd like to mention that does it particularly poorly, Jamey?
That's the weird thing about this Gripe. I haven't encountered too many games. Maybe I've just been avoiding them. I think it's part of it is of like I'll see a game on Kickstarter that really excites me, or I see a publisher announce a game, and then I hear that there are these. I hear maybe reviewers talking about how you have to read through 10 minutes of text. I think maybe I heard it recently about Descent: Journeys to the Dark. I may have heard about that. I haven't played that one. And that to me it's always a big red flag. I never want to sit through 10 minutes of text.
Yeah.
I'm okay with sitting through maybe a minute if it's really well written, like some of you have said. But once it gets up into the multiple minutes, it loses me. Yeah.
So actually, let me just ask then: was this kind of the influence for the Scythe encounter cards being very like, because they're like a sentence, aren't they? And then you get a choice based on those.
It was part of it, yeah. The idea, and a lot of people even have still asked. So there's a picture inside, so the story is ideally told through that picture, and then you have a few different options that are in very small, like you said, it's maybe one sentence each at most. And I think that may be too little, but I like the idea of having enough to allow players to fill in that story a little bit, and not have the game just walk you through every little step, every little beat of that story.
We've always found that enjoyable, haven't we? I think those and, like I said before, Lords of Waterdeep with the quest cards and just that small bit of text to give you a little bit of flavour, and then, the imagination kicks in. Yeah, I think that's always good.
I think that's good. Like the example as well, both of those examples where it's not only the text that is creating that narrative, it's all the gameplay, it's all those little bits and pieces, it's the board, it's the cards, the tokens, the meeples, it's everything that plays together to create a story. And those text elements are just one part of that. Ben, did you have a point?
I got one. I do remember a game I played. I didn't like Imperial Assault, but the best part of that game was each mission. It was just a perfect amount of text, and the key moment is I was the game master. Whatever. You would read it, and then there was a good 5 seconds of silence while everyone just sort of sat there, sort of thinking, okay. So that was really good. And then the game.
Yeah, that's great.
That was nice. If you get that 5 seconds,
Yeah. Okay. Looking for that perfect balance. That's what we're seeking. Well, hey, ladies and gents, Jamey's shelf space. How can we title this? What was this called? How do you distill this into like a title?
Overlong fluff.
The fluff. Correct about fluff, right? Correct about fluff. Well, obviously, ladies and gents, we would love to hear from you about what is the perfect amount of fluff for a board game. Dave, how can people get in touch with the show?
Sure. I'll scroll it along the bottom as well.
Oh, how professional.
Yeah, very professional. You can join us on Instagram at back.of.the.shelf. You can find us on Facebook, Back of the Shelf Podcast. You can find us on Board Game Geek, where we have a guild, number 3879. And also you can email us at backoftheshelfpodcast@gmail.com.
Nice. Well, Jamey, since you're here, how can people get in touch with you, see your stuff?
Yeah, if you go to stonemaiergames.com, you can find everything related to my company and the games that I talk about on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and all the different places. It's all at the stonemaiergames.com hub.
All right, nice one. Good grief. I forgot to ask. How's Walter and Biddy doing?
Well, yeah, you guys saw on camera.
Yes,
Biddy was there earlier. Walter's back there napping away, and they're doing well. Yeah.
Okay.
I hope all of your pets, if you all have pets, are doing well too.
Yes, they're doing very, very well. My cat is currently hunkered down next to me on the pillow.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Well,
Biddy was right there as well before we started recording. And as soon as we started the intro.
Soon as Biddy saw Ben's face, nah. I'm out. I'm out. Well, then, sir, thank you so much for coming and back onto the show, joining us for this episode of Back of the Shelf. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Jamey. Thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah, great talking to you guys again. Yeah.
Awesome. In which case, Dave, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Ben, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Jamey, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
It's bye for me. Bye-bye.